Hey, what's up, y'all? Today I just wanted to do a quick video going over the device that I just put up on my Patreon page. This is an update to the G-Rack, which some of you might have the original, but this is now has a bit more of an easier to use interface, and also I've never really gone over how I approach using it. I've just kind of thrown it out there and let you guys who do have it just do their own thing with it, but today I wanted to show how I use it and how you guys can go and apply it to a variety of different sounds. So I'm going to jump into Ableton and we'll check those out. Alright, so here I have a variety of different sounds, and I just want to show you how I use this G-Rack on these different sounds. So this first one here, this is just a quick bass line that I made. It sounds like this without any processing. This is just Serum and whatever processing is inside. So it's still a very nice bass sound, but just to kind of add some extra, I guess, like spice to the sound itself, you can throw on the G-Rack, and I've been doing this a lot with bass specifically lately, just more so because I love the Valhalla Room plugin, and the reverb that it adds just makes the sounds that I throw it on just feel really big. And so when you first drop this on, these are the default, everything. Let me just make sure, reset everything. But yeah, everything looks like this. This is what is in it. The only plugin you'll need is Valhalla Room. It's like $50 if you pick it up. But outside of that, then there's OTT and then saturation. And so what each of these parameters do is up here is the reverb mix. And if you look here, this is just manipulating the mix itself of how much reverb. There's the decay for how long the reverb decays, and then the depth of like the room itself. And then down here, this is just the lows of the OTT. This is more so for if I want to go and push some of the lows in specific sounds, or if I just want to take the lows entirely out. I see there's no lows. So yeah, this is definitely adjust to taste, but when it's like bassier sounds, I tend to go and push this up. And then when I don't want bass, I just take it all out really easily. This is the OTT amount. So you can see right here how much OTT is being applied. And then we move over to the saturator. And so these are all kind of based off what I was manipulating in the beta version of this rack here. And so now I've just kind of throw them all into here. So that way, you know, when you're using this, you know what parameters to go and mess with. Whereas before it was just like, hey, here's a rack. There's no parameters that I have designated, so have fun. But now these are kind of the ones that I've been playing with the most and experimenting and adjusting, and have gotten good results by just adjusting these particular parameters. Anyways, so yeah, saturator type, this will just cycle through all the different saturator types, goes through all of them. The hard curve can be a bit much, but it does make the sounds pretty gritty. Sometimes it's too much, so you just change it to literally any other one of these ones and it'll sound fine. And then there's just how much saturation is being applied. So, yeah, very simple, not too crazy, but I pretty much throw it on every sound. So, now let's go ahead and hear how it sounds on the different sounds and what I would do to go and adjust it to get each of these sounds sounding good. So, like I said, first we have bass. And then if I turn it on, so obviously a little bit too much to start. So what I might do first is pull back the reverb. I think it's a bit too much. And then, like I said, this hard curve can be a bit much on certain sounds, but sometimes it works really well. So I'm just going to move this over to medium curve. That's what I usually move it to if the hard curve is too much. So now if I play it, there's still that little bit of reverb, but there's still these lows that are being pushed through. So that way there's still you know, it's still a nice round bass, not too much is being taken away. I mean, even if I were to pull up an EQ, you can see that. Let's see. So drop that on. Yeah, still plenty of low-end information happening. I could go and dial that back a little bit because, like I said, it can be a bit too much when it's completely pushed up. So, I mean, it still sounds great like that. And then I might play with the depth. So yeah, pretty much I would just play with the reverb. I like adding a little bit of reverb like this onto a bass just because it makes the bass just feel that much bigger, especially when I'm using a bass like this in more of a lead kind of scenario, like with these higher notes that are happening and such. And so I could go and make it more, you know, really reverbed out like that. That sounds really cool. And then I might go and layer this, just like these lower notes here, with like an additional like dry signal bass layer, just so that way the low end comes through nice and clean still. But yeah, so there's that. And then moving on to vocals, I have this vocal here. And so if I play it without the G rack on, it's pretty quiet, but if I turn this on, you can make for some nice quick processing on it. Take all the quarters from my jaw. So as you can see, this is pretty quiet input signal. So I would probably use this device on dry vocals, like if you were recording from, say, like a mic like this, and you don't have any external chain on it or any external processing, anything like that, and you just want to throw something on really quick, I would probably use this. I've used this on vocals many times outside of other vocal processing, but this just really brightens the vocal when signals have been recorded pretty quietly. So on this, I might go and pull back the reverb a little bit. Take all the quarters from my jaw. And again, maybe the low end, I might just take all of that out. Take all. And as you can see, there's still a little bit, so I just go and just roll that off with an EQ. Take all. There we go. And there you go. You have a pretty quickly put together processed vocal that would work quite well. And like I said, obviously, you know, if you are someone who does vocals, you can do much more additional processing than this, but it's just a nice way to get that vocal beefed up quickly just by throwing this on. Next, we have just some chords. So yeah, it's just in this Diva brass patch here. And so it sounds pretty nice, but if you wanted to kind of give it a bit more flair, you could turn this on, and these default settings might be too much, but if I play it, so yeah, a bit too much, so I'd turn the saturation down. And again, maybe I just turn this down a little bit, this low. I still want some of the low because of these lower notes. It does sound very nice and rich, but now it's not clipping as hard. And then maybe I could dial back this reverb mix again. So yeah, probably something like that. Again, it's just adjusting to taste. So very subtle changes, not much thinking needs to go into this. It's just slight adjustment just to go make the sound just feel bigger than it act or than it just make it feel bigger. Basically, that's the whole purpose of this rack. So without and then with. It just feels like huge now, just like because there's just that little bit of reverb going on, and then it just being squished in OTT and then saturated, so it just feels really crunchy as well. So yeah, and then the last thing, this one I do a lot. I do use this brass library quite a lot. This is Native Instruments Brass Ensemble, and I use these low like staccato hits. I use those a lot, and so the original library recordings are kind of quiet, so in order to go and beef them up, I just made this, and this was kind of the inspiration of why I made this rack in the first place, was because I wanted to go and beef up these brass hits. So now, a bit too much reverb, so I'll dial that back. Pull this back a little bit. So without, and then with. Because yeah, so I would be going and trying to mix these in a pretty loud song, but it just sounded so quiet, so I just dropped this on and it would instantly be level in the mix because of this rack. So I would probably just do that. Let me pull this back a little bit more. There's already some reverb built into the sample already. Then that's basically it. So yeah, again, nothing too crazy, but as you can hear, it does make a world of difference by just adding this rack on. So I hope this helps to explain the rack a bit more. Definitely go and experiment with it. Just, slightly tweak these parameters until it makes whatever you're throwing it onto sound good to your ears. Just trust your instincts, trust your heart, your brain, whatever. But yeah, hope that helps and enjoy.